Hello, and welcome to Cooking with Bill. I'm not a professional chef by any stretch of the word, and I've never worked in any kind of kitchen. I'm just a home cook who makes all kinds of mistakes. Hopefully, watching my videos helps you to get in the kitchen and start making your own tasty creations. Today, I'll be taking a look at curried beef with peas. I've been interested in Indian or Indian-inspired dishes recently, as you can see from my first video, where I've attempted to make naan. This is a recipe found once again from the amazing writers over at Budget Bites, and I'll link that down in the description. I don't think I've strayed far from the recipe on this one, but if I were to make it again, I would definitely make some changes. However, without further ado, it's time to get cooking with Bill. Alright, first off with the ingredients, you have 2 pounds of 85-15 beef, an absurd amount of garlic, 2 cups of beef stock, curry powder and cumin, 2 russet potatoes, kosher salt and pepper, red chili flakes, ginger, and 2 cups of frozen peas. I also added some leftover frozen mixed vegetables that I had. Remember, this is an art, not a science. Now you need to get that papery skin off your garlic. There's 100 ways to do it, but I like cutting the narrow end off and peeling from there, then chopping the root end off. Whatever peels your garlic though, as they say. Well, I see the problem here. Put the peeled garlic in the ramekin. Then put the ramekin here. No, here. Or maybe there. Once you settle your internal ramekin dispute, put your garlic to the side and clean off your cutting board. You spent all this time taking the skin off, don't let it sneak back in, because the garlic is scared, for it knows what fate awaits it in the garlic press. Trust me, the fear experienced by the garlic really brings out the flavor. I also shouted at mine, but do what makes you comfortable. Next up, I've got a couple of life pro tips for you. First, get a microplane. That's the utensil you see I'm using here, and it is basically a very sharp, very fine grater. You can use it to grate fresh cinnamon or nutmeg or zest lemons and limes and so much more. It's a very handy little tool. You can see here I'm grating the ginger. The second tip is to freeze your ginger root. This will help it keep a lot longer, as well as making grating it a breeze. You can see how easily that is grating, and with no pulpy buildup on my microplane, which is nice. You know what else is nice? Freshly washed potatoes. Chop these in half, then into about 1/2-inch cubes. Too large and they won't cook through. Too small and they'll be mushed by the end. I don't know, maybe you're into mushy potatoes like that. I mean, some people are into feet, so why not? Indulge yourself with mushy potatoes if you want. Just know that the rest of us will think you're a little odd. Anyways, finish chopping your potatoes and let's get ready to cook this thing. I think if this section had a title, it would be Power On Through Your Own Stupidity, which you'll see in full force in just a second. You see, I preheated my pan for too long, and wouldn't you know it, the garlic immediately started to stick. This is actually a great teaching moment about cooking on the fly, which is to not panic. As soon as the garlic stuck, I reduced the heat, kept the mixture moving, and you'll see me even take the pan off the heat several times just to reduce any chance of garlic burning. Originally, I was going to cook the garlic and ginger off a bit more, but I knew this meat needed to move along quickly, so I got my spices toasting off and then got my beef in there just a minute after. Now you can see by just how brown the edges of some of my aromatics are that I was just in time to save these from really burning. The curry spice mixture forms clumps with the aromatics and any leftover oil in the pan, creating a little bit of an insulating barrier while they toast off, giving me just enough time to get my beef into the pan. Whew, that was close. And just on cue, here it is to save the day, beef. I know I said in the intro that it was 2 pounds of 85-15, but it's actually 1 pound of 90-10 and 1 pound 80-20, because the supermarket didn't have it. Devilish of me to deceive you like that, I know. I put my fattier chunk in first, just to help get that oil mixed throughout as soon as I could, and followed up right behind with the 90-10, and now it's just time to break it up. Watching myself cook makes me realize that I have a bad habit of cooking like a caveman over an open fire, so all the little bits flying out of the pan are just expected casualties at this point. After a few minutes, your beef should be nice and browned. Then it's time to add in your beef stock and your potatoes. Now, this might seem like a lot of liquid to add in all at once, but it'll get cooked down later, so have some faith in the process. It is a little late to tell you now if you're cooking along, but do make sure your pan is big enough before dropping all these potatoes in. Nobody wants a potato disaster, especially keeping in mind there are more vegetables on the way. You may notice that I did not rinse my cut potatoes either, as I believe the starch will help thicken and emulsify the sauce. Now give those potatoes a stir and bring them up to a simmer on a medium-high heat. Once they're bubbling away, crown your king and turn that heat down to a cozy medium-low and give your beef and potatoes the nice little sauna visit they so very much deserve. About 10 to 15 minutes. Whoa, and just like that, time flew by. That break in the time-space continuum is probably what caused me to open this steaming hot pan directly towards my face. Facial burns. After you're done bandaging your face, or whatever you've been up to, give your dish a quick stir. Then we're going to let it simmer uncovered until the liquid reduces by about half. After that glamour shot, here's about what it should look like. Now you're ready to add some color into this dish. Throw your peas and whatever the hell else you fancy into this dish still frozen. Frozen vegetables are par cooked, so a quick reheating in the dish is more than enough. Besides, if you overcook the vegetables, they'll end up mushy, and hopefully you remember our conversation earlier about mushy potatoes. Hey, go be your bad self if that's what you're into. Just know that everyone's a little worried about you. And just like that, your curried beef and peas is done. An easy one-pan meal that comes together in 30-40 minutes, depending on how fast you are at cutting things. I added some salt and pepper here, but that's up to you. I'll be reheating and eating this all week with some garlic butter naan, so it needed a little extra salt. Well, there you have it, curried beef and potatoes. Now that I've eaten this for an entire week, I definitely have some thoughts. First, I definitely wanted more heat in this, maybe some sliced chilies or something. I felt like it really needed a little acidity too, so when I remake this, I'll probably use pickled jalapenos to touch both bases, or maybe some sliced serranos and a little lime juice. Other than those minor complaints, this was a really tasty dish. It's very easy to stretch it out on a budget if you want to. You could replace half the beef with lentils and up the potatoes a bit, and this will go a real long way on a relatively small budget. As prepared, it fed this hungry electrician for 5 days with a little naan on the side. I can say that it holds up very well in the fridge. I didn't freeze any, so I'm not certain how well it would freeze, but I don't see anything in the dish conflicting with being frozen. And with that, those are really my final thoughts on this. So what do you think? Would you have done anything differently? I'm always trying to find the next inspiration, so let me know down there in the comments. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time on Cooking with Bill.